Here are the pros and cons of living in Peachtree Corners. Peachtree Corners is absolutely one of my favorites in all of Metro Atlanta, and one of the biggest pros of living here is the amount of tech focus that you have in this city. There are lots of tech companies in Peachtree Corners. It's very tech focused. There is the 5G networks is something that they put a lot of work into, and it's a very high priority here in Peachtree Corners. And so in general, if you work in tech or you're wanting to live in a tech forward area, then Peachtree Corners is definitely great for that. What's up, y'all? My name is Victor with Atlanta Suburban Living, and we put out videos every week, all the time, about what it's like to live in Atlanta and the surrounding suburbs of Atlanta. Many cities around Metro Atlanta were developed because of the railroad lines, and so they have very old history to them. But Peachtree Corners is not one of those cities. It's not one of those suburbs that was established because of the railroad. And so you see very quickly when you're in Peachtree Corners that it's a much newer, modern area, much more modern downtown area. And so this is a really big benefit, a big reason why so many people move here, is they're looking for that newer feel in the city where they live. They don't want to be in one of the many other suburbs of Metro Atlanta, like Marietta or Beaufort or Duluth or Ackworth, where they have this kind of old historic feel, and maybe they've done a good job of preserving that historic feel, but it's kind of it gets old and it gets tired, and they want something that is more new and modern, like Alpharetta or Johns Creek or Peachtree Corners. And so you'll see, if you look on the map, that Peachtree Corners is actually very close to Johns Creek and to Alpharetta. They take a lot of influence, a lot of the style of the city comes from those other two very popular cities. And so this is a big pro of living here, is that it has that kind of newer, modern feel. Another pro of living in Peachtree Corners is its downtown area. And the downtown area of Peachtree Corners is on Peachtree Parkway. I know there's a lot of Peachtree everything here in Georgia, but across the street from Peachtree Parkway, across the street from the downtown area, is the Forum. And the Forum is one of these areas with tons of shopping. There are lots of great stores there. This is kind of one of the more popular commercial areas when it comes to looking for a shopping area. The Forum is one of the more common ones that a lot of the residents of Peachtree Corners go to, especially because it's across the street from the downtown area. And so if you're looking for something to do on a Thursday evening or Friday evening or a Saturday afternoon or any day of the week, I don't know why I picked those times. If you're looking for something to do at any point while you're in Peachtree Corners, very often people go to this area because there's so much going on right around the downtown area and the Forum. Another pro of living here is the property taxes. If you're thinking about moving here, or you just have any questions about what it's like to live in Peachtree Corners, feel free to call, text, or email me anytime. I'm a local real estate agent here in Georgia, and I help people relocate to the Atlanta area. Even if you just have a question, no problem. I'm the one who answers those phone calls, text messages, emails. But when it comes to the property taxes, this is a big one as well for Peachtree Corners. One big property tax exemption that they have is the senior school tax exemption. And so this is half of the property tax bill is made up of the school portion. And so for seniors who are 65 years or older, they are exempt from having to pay for this school tax. This is a big deal. I mean, already we have some lower property taxes here in Georgia. For a typical average home here in Peachtree Corners, if you didn't have to pay for the school portion of the property taxes, you're looking at a $2,500 per year property tax bill. This is a steal, and it's not something that you find in Johns Creek or Alpharetta. And so even though these cities neighbor each other, you do get that property tax exemption in Peachtree Corners. Another pro of living here is the amount of parks and green space. They're absolutely everywhere. The Chattahoochee River runs right along Peachtree Corners, and so there's a lot of hiking, a lot of outdoor activities right there along the Chattahoochee River. And then also when it it comes to new and modern, not only are the stores and the downtown area newer and more modern, but the infrastructure is newer and modern in this city. And that's a very big deal because when you're here in Georgia, you're very quick to notice that some of the infrastructure around here is very dated. Potholes in the road, or power lines that are above ground that look like they're about to fall over, or high-speed internet that's not really super high speed. And so there's lots of infrastructure all around Metro Atlanta that is not really up to date, up to speed with the amount of influx of residents. But because this is a newer city, they do have a bit newer infrastructure here. Okay, enough of all of the good things about living in this city. Let's talk about some of the downsides of living in Peachtree Corners, because if you're thinking about moving here, it's super important that you have a balanced opinion, a balanced view of what it's like to live here. We don't want to like gloss over all the bad things, and every city has its pros and its cons, and it's important for you to understand the whole picture when you're thinking about moving to any area. And so one of the downsides of living in Peachtree Corners is definitely going to be the school ratings. Unfortunately, Peachtree Corners is a relatively new city, but they're still kind of working on these public schools. They're not quite as good as Johns Creek or Alpharetta. And so this is a big thing that still keeps people moving to Johns Creek or Alpharetta instead of Peachtree Corners. The public schools here are certainly improving and they're doing better every year, but it's not quite as good as the neighboring cities. Another downside of living here is the cost of buying a home here. While it is a lot less than Alpharetta or Johns Creek, it's a lot more than neighboring Norcross. And Peachtree Corners is in Gwinnett County, and so you would expect the cost of the homes here to be a little bit less, but they're still quite a bit higher. There are a lot of people moving here, and so because of that, we see that the home prices have gone up significantly because there's a lot of great reasons to move here, but the cost of living is a much higher cost than the neighboring city of Norcross. In Norcross, you can find a home for a typical home price of about $500,000, whereas in Peachtree Corners, you're looking at a home price of about $650,000, maybe even $700,000. So this is a very big difference and a very big reason that holds people back a little bit from this city. You can move a bit more north of Peachtree Corners into other cities like Sugar Hill or Suwanee or Beaufort, and you can get more home for your money. And so this is definitely something to think about if you're planning on moving to Peachtree Corners. Another downside of living here is the lack of diversity in Peachtree Corners. I'm sure people will comment in the comment section about this, but in my opinion, you don't quite see as much diversity in Peachtree Corners as you do in some of the other Metro Atlanta suburbs. Suburbs like Marietta or Beaufort or Duluth, which is very close to Peachtree Corners. Duluth has a lot more racial diversity, but in Peachtree Corners, there's still the diversity there is it's not quite as good. You're not going to get as much of a mix of the cultures and the racial ethnicities, and so you're not going to get that kind of mix in Peachtree Corners as much as you would in other Metro Atlanta suburbs. And then also there is in Peachtree Corners not a lot of land ready for being developed. You don't have a lot of new construction homes in this city. You don't have a lot of homes with acre lots or 2-acre lots. This is not a common thing that you would find in Peachtree Corners. If you're looking for like a home where you don't have to maintain the yard as much or cut the grass, and you're looking for like a smaller lot, totally, this is a great city for that. But if you're looking for that like wide open 5 acres of land for your home, you're going to be paying a premium for that because of its proximity to Atlanta. One of the reasons for that is because how close it is to the city of Atlanta. And so finding 5 acres for a reasonable price, or even 1 acre for a reasonable price in this city, can be kind of challenging. And then you are also going to see a lot of HOAs here. While I don't necessarily suggest ruling out HOAs for your home, if you are absolutely like refusing to buy a home that's in an HOA, then Peachtree Corners is not the right city for that. I think overwhelmingly the majority of the homes and neighborhoods in this city are going to be part of an HOA. And so if you're looking to like move far out from Atlanta and have that like country feel and the privacy of all the land and no HOA, then Peachtree Corners is not the right city for that. This is more of a tight-knit community that you find great community here, very family friendly, but you don't necessarily get that kind of privacy in Peachtree Corners. If you are looking for that privacy, I would suggest something farther out like Canton or Flowery Branch, Gainesville. These kinds of cities are where you can get a lot more land and a lot more privacy. But for sure, one of the biggest factors about whether or not you move here is going to be what the city is like, what the downtown area is like. And so I made an entire video where I went on a tour of the city. We walked through downtown Peachtree Corners, looked at all the shops and the parks there. And so you can check out that video right here. I'll see you in the next one.